We won a free trip to the Bahamas, but it cost us thousands of dollars and took 5 years to pay for. Back in 2019, we did a vacation that was kind of a tour of the state of Florida. We visited for a few nights Fort Lauderdale, and then for a few nights Orlando, and then for a few nights Daytona. And this particular vacation was coupled with some timeshare presentations, which allowed for us to receive the accommodations and a few different amenities. I think we only had to pay like $400 for the trip overall.
That sounds about right.
So it seemed like a deal for all of the different places that we got to stay along the way, which I think opened us up to be receptive to something that happened to us when we finally reached Daytona.
While we were finishing up the portion of the Daytona trip, we actually stopped in at a Mexican restaurant like
Surprise,
we always
surprise.
do. And they had a little box sitting beside the door and a big picture of the Atlantis.
Yeah.
Oh, it was really pretty. And they had these forms that you could fill out, and it said words like, win a free cruise and free vacation in Bahamas for free. And the word free was everywhere. So I thought, we just came from this vacation type thing. We're kind of feeling like we know what to expect. I'm just gonna fill this out and I'm gonna see what happens. So that's exactly what I did. I filled out this pink slip of paper, and it had like my name and phone number and email address, and I folded it up and I put it in the box. Now my thought was, I don't ever win anything. Probably nobody wins these things. So I didn't even think twice about it, but I filled out all of the information. And within a couple of weeks, I actually got a phone call saying that I had won this trip to the Bahamas, and I was so excited, and I had no idea what to expect, but the person on the other line let me know that I was the winner and that all I would be responsible for was some taxes for the resort and the boat. So I thought that we had a good thing coming to us.
So we started paying the fees in 2019, and we paid $39.98 for an account setup fee, and then 4 payments of $69.99 for a cruise administration fee, which comes over to a little over $200 some odd for that. But then we had a port and services fee of $258 in June of 2020, and it continued to progress from there. So after we had paid all of those fees, we probably could have taken the trip, but Hurricane Dorian happened at the end of 2019, so there was no going to Freeport at that time, and it was going to take them a little while to rebuild from the hurricane, so it was delayed even further.
And right after that, all the things that happened with Dorian, we entered 2020. So of course, nobody was cruising at that time. So once again, we got a notification saying that our trip would be delayed until further notice.
And even when all that cleared up and the cruise ships started sailing again, there were a lot of restrictions. So that got postponed even further by maybe a year or two.
And at that point, I got pregnant with Pierce, and I had him at the beginning of 2022. So we had to delay it even further.
By then, the cruise ship had changed hands, and we finally decided to schedule the cruise in late 2023. We decided that we would add our children and bring them with us, because by then we had started our YouTube channel, which is primarily about making memories together as a family. So we decided that we should take our children on this particular trip and try them out on a cruise ship. But Elena actually did earn a cruise to Labadee, Haiti that we took late last year. So we decided that we would do that, and it was around the time that we had already scheduled this trip. So we postponed it again and actually paid a $50 fee to do that.
Yeah, we had to pay a fee.
With the decision to add our children, and then finally coming to a conclusion of all of that, we had paid more than $2,733 for this trip.
Over the course of 5 years.
Yes, and so with it having taken us this long to finally take this trip, we were really more anxious about it than we were excited.
We are leaving to go on a vacation in a few days, and I'm kind of freaking out just a little bit. The reason I'm stressing out about it is because I've never taken the kids on a cruise before. Anthony and I have been on several cruises, love cruising, but I've never done it with them. So I have like a million thoughts going through my mind right now about what to pack and our suitcases being a certain weight, and making sure I have everything that we need, and what's gonna go in the tiny cruise boat room. I have to make sure I have bathing suits and sunscreen and all of the basic necessities for going to the beach. I need a beach bag, so I have to pack that in suitcases. I have to make sure everybody has a place to sleep, so I have to take Pierce's pack and play. I'm hoping that Vivian has a bed on the cruise boat. I don't know that. I'm a little stressed out about that.
And with all of the packing complete and under our belt, it was finally time for us to head off to this cruise ship.
Woohoo, we're finally on our way. All those days and days of packing and planning and creating lists, and hopefully I didn't forget anything. But I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about this one. He always forgets something, so what's it gonna be? Stay tuned.
And honestly, we really didn't know what to expect because by now the cruise line had changed hands and the ship is quite dated because it's from back in the 90s, and all of the reviews on the internet were all over the place, from the highly sensationalized viral video reviews of this cruise to the more practical down-to-earth cruise reviews. And then on top of that, we're going to be taking our kids.
That's what I was most nervous about because we have cruised several times before by ourselves, but we have never taken our children. So I was nervous personally about taking our kids on a cruise boat, much less one that was smaller and older and had all these crazy reviews. So we really didn't know what to expect taking our kids.
So we are staying in the standard room, and there happen to be bunk beds, and the kids are super excited about that.
We're excited about that.
The room is pretty straightforward. I actually think that I like the decor. It feels very tropical. I mean, it's not what I would want in my house, but it makes the ship feel fun. There's a little wetness under the toilet, so that's a little weird. And the carpet in here is a little bit gross. I did notice that one YouTuber went on about that for a little bit. And basically the cruise was fine. It wasn't the nicest cruise ship that we've ever sailed on, but it was good enough because we were just using it as a ferry to get from the Port of Palm Beach over to Freeport and Grand Bahama Island anyway. There were a few different resorts that we could choose from on this trip, and we decided that we would select the Viva Fortuna Beach by Wyndham.
Yeah, I had looked at the options, and by the time that we had booked this trip, I think Viva Fortuna and only one of the other ones was available, but the three that I remember were the Viva, which is the one that we chose, and then the Taino Resort, and also the Grand Lucayan Resort. But the reason I went with the Viva Wyndham is because it had more amenities available, and so it had things like the snack bar all the time. It had a kids pool, which the other two did not, and just different things like that that I thought would be a better fit for us with our children.
We narrowly escaped having to sit through the vacation club thing with our lives, and we've sat through so many of those. We will not sit through another one, so they tried to get us to do that, but oh no, not us, not on this trip.
Actually, the thing about the resort was that it was okay.
Yeah, it was
the
alright.
Food was pretty decent. There were some bland things on the buffet, but there were some things that were pretty tasty on each day. So we usually could find something that we actually enjoyed.
I got a little bit of everything, and mostly carbs, but it's vacation, so I'm good.
Also, the location was quite beautiful.
Yes, the location on the beach was really good. The access to the beach was really nice. The kids loved being able to step onto the beach and then go right to the pool, so that was really convenient.
The room was a little bit run down.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, the fact is that it was kind of just like a basic motel room in the setup with just like two queen-size beds. The plaster was kind of coming off the wall in some spots. I don't know if that was just long-term moisture damage or if any of that dates back to Dorian, because there were some hurricane damage that was still present on the island, and the Freeport and Grand Bahama Island has not fully recovered from the damage there.
Right, but also we didn't have consistent hot water in our room, and I didn't find out until we got there that another family we met said that that was all in the reviews of their resort, that a lot of the rooms consistently didn't have hot water, so it's not like it was a problem they were having at that time. It was all the time. We didn't have hot water until the afternoon, so anytime you took a shower in the morning, no hot water. So that was
And also there was no sliding door on the shower, just one pane of glass with the water blasting toward the open spot in the shower. So there, the bathroom was wet all the time.
Yeah.
And the door had obviously been exposed to a lot of moisture, so it had expanded and it dragged on the floor, picking up even more water. So that was not really my favorite part.
Yeah, that was not
about the
enjoyable.
room. And there was entertainment each evening. It was kind of late for our kids to be able to enjoy that because the shows were at like 9:30 every night. But probably the best one was when they did a Lion King show. We really enjoyed exploring the island.
Yes, that was fun.
There are a few different things to do there, and we have a friend of a friend who is a pastor on the island who showed us all around, and we had the opportunity to visit the Port Lucayan shopping center and market, and then we went to Pirates Cove and explored there throughout the day, and the kids really enjoyed playing on the playground there.
Yeah.
And had a good time. And there were a lot more things that probably could have been done on that particular attraction. Okay, Vivian says that she wants to try to ride this giant slide, but I have my doubts because it's pretty big. But anyway, she's pretty convinced, so I'm not going to stand in her way. Okay, it turns out that the slide is not included in the admission that we paid for. I have to pay for a different kind of admission, apparently. Then for lunch, we headed over to a restaurant down by the pier where you could feed the nurse sharks. And the food was really delicious too. So our kids really loved watching others feed the sharks, and then also all the boats going by. So if you can keep your toddler and kindergartner entertained during lunch, then that's always a win.
Plus. On the final day of our resort, we checked out and we had to start heading back to the boat because the boat was going to take us back to Palm Beach. We had a little extra time, so we got a taxi to take us to Paradise Cove, which I absolutely loved. And if we go back, I would love to go back, just the two of us, because they had beautiful water that was shallow enough where people could snorkel, but you could still walk through. And we saw stingrays and turtles and all kinds of fish, and they would come right up to you, which Vivian loved because she loves to see things in the water. But I would like to snorkel personally, and I don't think I could do that with the kids because we had to watch them.
Yeah, and Vivian was starting to ask if she could snorkel toward the end of the time there, so maybe next time. But also, we could buy lunch there, which is always an important part for me.
It was beautiful. Probably one of my favorite parts of the trip was going to Paradise Cove. I would definitely go back there.
All in all, I think we kind of have some mixed feelings about the trip.
Yeah.
Basically, we did enjoy ourselves and we had a really good time together as a family, but the advertising and the marketing for it was a little bit shady.
It was not free, and that word was all over that slip of paper that I filled out, but it's definitely not free.
We did look it up and find out that if we had gone to the same resort and paid per person per night, it would have been $3,808, and that would not have included the cruise, which I think is $200 per person per night as well, which is 2 nights. So all in all, it was significantly cheaper to do it this way.
Still a lot though for a family vacation, especially if it was advertised to you as being free. You still have to pull together some money to take this trip.
If you want to know more about our trip, then click this playlist right here.